If you like this episode, please rate the podcast 5 stars 6 and take it home. This podcast is a member of Bun Collective.
Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. And this is the MTG Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast.
Get in, loser. We're going shopping.
I can't. I'm sick.
Weh, yung tataa.
Boo, you whore. Lockdown pa rin.
Huh? 2021 na.
So, anong gagawin natin?
Di, magstay na lang sa house at makinig sa Astrology, the podcast. With new episodes every Tuesday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts.
Okay. It's Wednesday. You know what that means. Welcome to your unfiltered Tagalog Wrestling Podcast. And this is the TNA Show Podcast, a wrestling podcast. Okay, so thank you for listening on this episode. This is a very special episode for me because we are talking about Impact. In fact, we didn't talk about Impact for a very long time here in the show since Rebellion pay-per-view since April. And this is a perfect time for me to discuss Impact Wrestling. So, on this week's special episode, like what I said, I supposedly dapat ito kasama to sa special show natin on this Friday's episode. Pero, I decided not to, na hindi ko siya isama sa episode na yon. Kasi, baka sumapaw ng mahaba yung mga kaganapan sa wrestling right now. So, that's why I changed the plans. And gumawa na lang ako ng special episodes. Special episode for this week's episode na we're going to talk about on this whole episode, we're going to talk about Impact Wrestling. So basically, we're going to talk about my greatest matches, na in my opinion, my favorite matches. Then, the greatest segments in Impact Wrestling. Then, yung aking mga greatest match tips. At saka yung mga top 5 homegrown stuff ko. Top 5 homegrown wrestlers. And yung top rivalries ko in the company. But first, if you want to support the podcast on Lazada, don't worry guys, it's simple. podlink.co/6gs. Again, if you want to shop on Lazada, since lahat naman ng bagay, pwede nyo bilhin, kahit load, kahit pwede kayo magbayad ng kuryente, tubig, kung ano-ano man. You can pay on Lazada kasi lahat ng bagay, nasa Lazada yan. To support the podcast, you can check out my link tr.ee/TheMTGShowPod or to my link direct, of course, that's podlink.co/6gs. Again, that's podlink.co/6gs. Okay. So, let's start the show. So, ngayon, itong episode na to talaga, supposedly, kasama to sa Friday magkakwento lang ako about Impact. And actually, this is supposedly done by tomorrow's recording pa. Pero, hindi ko na siya ginawa kasi baka humaba That's a problem kasi every time I'm doing special segments on the show, umahaba Sabi ko, I want to do less durations in my show lately. And now this episode of the podcast is not different. So let's get down to it. So, konti storytelling lang sa aking fandom about Impact. Since I started watching wrestling in 2016, 2017, 15, 16, 17 onwards, basta yan. Then, nakakapanood din ako minsan sa TV. Sa TV kasi, sobrang rare ng TNA. No? Sobrang rare. Ako naman, wala pa akong alam sa YouTube na yan. Hindi ko pa alam. Ang mga pinapanood ko pa lang sa internet on that time was yung mga Y8. Yung mga laro sa y8.com. Then, ayan, ganyan. Then, habang tumatanda ako, I was looking for a WWE alternative. And I think TNA was my first company na sumalo sa akin. Aside sa Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground is a different level. And we can talk about that really soon. But regardless, TNA was my first company to catch me. Noong board na board ako sa WWE. And then, nakabutan kong stories on that time was the rise of Drew Galloway and the rise of Bobby Lashley on the same company. And ito yung na-realize ko na pababa na yung downfall na to ng Impact eh. Pero, ayun, I tried to watch the product. Medyo na-appreciate ko naman. I can consider it not. Hindi ko siya pwede i-consider as alternative since parang parang boring. I'm going to say this, boring yung atmosphere sa Impact Zone. Pero habang tumatagal naman, nanood ako ng mga throwback matches, especially on YouTube since gurang na ako at the time. 2015, I think I was 13, 14. Ayun, nanood ako ng wrestling. And hindi ko pa alam yung mga New Japan, didn't care about those companies yet. So, bale, ang tatlong companies na pinapanood ko was TNA, Lucha Underground. Lucha Underground is one of my favorite stuffs that I ever watched on television. Hindi ko siya napapanood sa Kicks. Papanood ko siya more on sa internet din kasi I know watch wrestling at that time. Pero, syempre, as a person na walang kaalam-alam sa internet at that time, I was trying. Nagtatry ako. So, in the end of the story here in the unboxing, nagtigil din ako. Nagtigil din ako noong binili ng Anthem and then si Alberto El Patron yung champion. I decided to stop watching this shit. Medyo nawala na rin ako sa focus and Hardest made their return to WWE. So, ayan, nagtuloy-tuloy na rin yung panonood ko ulit ng Ginahan na ako. At the same time, nakapapanood ko pa rin yung Lucha Underground. So, which is great. Yun lang yung aking fandom sa Impact. Then, I decided to watch the company again, 2018-19, ganyan. Noong kasagsagan ng era nila Moose, ayan, nila Moose. Moose is a really, really underrated guy right now in TNA. I'm going to say this. That's why I'm using Moose theme song here in the pod sa intro ng show. Kasi I think magagatasan pa to. Magagatasan pa to. Kaya pang ma-push on his high potential to si Moose eh. And I think he's one of my favorites in Impact. For it. Talaga. Kung ibibuild lang na mabuti yung character niya, Moose is gonna be good for sure. Okay, regardless. Let's talk about my favorite stuff in Impact/TNA on its early days. So, ayun. Since I was watching wrestling, TNA Wrestling, since 2015, siguro, sapat na yon para makagawa ko tong special episode na to. Sobrang sapat na to sa akin, kulang pa nga. So, I'm going to start with the top 5 match stipulations na gustong-gusto ko na pinapanood lagi sa Impact. No? So, let's start with Feast or Fired. I know it's odd to you guys. I know you guys doesn't like the idea of 4 briefcases in the same ring tapos i-reveal on a segment sa Impact Impact Wrestling sa TV, alam ko sobrang weird sa inyo ng ganon kasi iniisip nyo Man in the Bank na isa lang naman ang briefcase. Bakit dito pinapagawa nyong complicated? I know that's how Impact is yung famous Tingnan mo, King of the Mountain that we're going to talk about soon na ganun din kakomplikado. Then ito nga, Feast or Fired. So we have 4 briefcases. Meron doon isang shot for the heavyweight title. Meron doon isang shot for the X Division. I think it's X Division ba o tag? I think it's tag titles. Then may isa pa doon for, I think it's X Division Championship. And the final is a X or blank. Ewan ko, X or blank. Basta yun. And it means, pag pinik mo yung briefcase na yon, it means you're fired from the promotion. No? Then, on the last time I saw this match, it was Eli Drake ousted from the company. I think Eli Drake o EC3. Di ako sure about those things kasi tagal ko na rin nalimutan. I think it was EC3. I think it's EC3. Now got ousted from the company because of the stip na kung saan it's pretty stupid but it's kinda unique kasi I don't need to watch the matches pero it's plain stupid for the starters. Siyempre, yung mga nanonood ng WWE. It's a plain stupid stipulation na I know you guys are watching. Pero ito, sobrang kulit lang sa akin since I still remember what's happening on Impact on that time. So, 2018 or 19 was the last year they used this stip and they never used this stipulation ever again. So, it's kind of sad. Total, Slammiversary naman yung marami binabalik. I hope ito na lang yung binalik at hindi yung reversed battle royale. But regardless, let's go to the reverse battle royale. One of the worst steps ever in Impact Wrestling. Or not only Impact, in the wrestling itself. So, it's kind of stupid na mag-uumpisa yung battle royale sa labas with 20-15 men. Then, pag hinagis ka sa loob ng ring, first 8 na mahahagis sa ring is magtutuloy sa isang sa isang regular na battle royale. And then yung final 2, ewan ko, variation tong binabanggit ko, but I think this is the variation. Yung final 2, after ng final 8, is maglalaban, pinfall or submission. Yung way of how to determine the winner. And it's just plain stupid na we are going to get this reverse battle royale thing and it's sobrang stupid that I don't know why Impact is still trying to revive this tip and gusto na pa nila i-revive to. Slammiversary, we're going to talk about that and the predictions this Friday. Pero it's plain stupid na I wish baka naman total 20th anniversary ng Impact nga pala. Sana naman ibalik nyo na rin yung lockdown. We need lockdown, not this crap. Or little lockdown. Seriously, man. Reverse Battle Royale is one of the most worst or stupid ideas na pwede nyo sabihin na it's a stupid idea from a bad creative. Definitely. And I'm not going to disagree with you. Okay, let's go back to my top 5. Haba pa tong list na to. So, yung aking top 4 for that was a Monsters Ball, whatever kung tawag nyo. I think Monsters Ball, nung una siyang nangyari, ang dalawang competitor or teams na magkukumpit in a ball is kailangan naka-secured sa isang room, magkaiba yun, syempre. Walang pagkain, walang tubig, walang ligo for 24 hours. Pero hindi nila ginawa to. Pero so basically, paglabas mo doon sa rooms, the only way to end the pin or the match is by pinfall or submission. And I think nakikita ko on this match is Abyss. Si Abyss. Si Abyss talaga yung napapakita dito on this matchup. Which is, parang sinabi ko na rin, this is a unique match for Abyss. And this is a signature for Abyss. So, I'm impressed by Abyss, by the way. We're going to talk about that soon. Pero, si Abyss kasi, sa sobrang hardcore ng character niya, that's why they decided to book him a lot of times here in this kind of matchup. I love the environment of this match. Pero yung igugutom ka for 24 hours, it's kind of weird for me, but it's part of the thing para maging hardcore yung match. But I love it. The last Monsters Ball na napanood ko was a women's Monster Ball. Hindi ko natanda. It was Slammiversary 2019? 20? 20 ba? 19? I'm not sure. Pero I think it's 9. 20. 20 nga. Seryoso? 20 ba? 20? I'm not sure. Basta hindi ako sure on that year. Basta it's 20 or 21. Hindi siya 21. 20. Parang naguluhan ako. Sorry. Pero I'm sure that's a women's Tyro Monsters Ball na I think won by Diona? I'm not sure. Basta it's a women's Monster Ball. Whatever. Okay, so let's talk about my top 3 tips. Of course, malaki na to. No? Mag-honorable mention muna ako. It's the barbed wire massacre. Basically, yung ring is surrounded by barbed wire. Siyempre, hindi naman siya nakakuryente gaya na nangyari sa AEW. Pero, I love this tip. This is another Abyss signature match. And yeah, yun. Okay, let's start with the top 3 greatest match stipulations in Impact Wrestling. So, number 3, in my point of view, was the King of the Mountain. Yes, medyo complicated to na match up. Then, medyo magulo. Kung i-explain, magulo din kung papanoorin. So, kung hindi nyo alam ang King of the Mountain is a match na basically you're going to hook the belt on the top of the parang you're on the top of the mountain. Ganyan. That's the main concept of King of the Mountain. So, ganito yung match. So, 5 competitors. So, para ma-earn mo yung para pwede ka maging eligible to win the title, kailangan mong mag-pin sa isang wrestler. Then, ilalak ka doon sa parang steel cage or parang penalty box for around 5 minutes. Then, yung nanalo doon sa pinfall, pwede na siya maging eligible for the pin or to hook the title to the top. Then, yung mga nasa loob ng cage, hindi pa sila pwede as long as, ewan ko kung tama ako, pero as long as the time expires, pwede na ulit sila maging eligible for the pin. Then, ayun, yung pwede na lang ma-hook yung bout. So, I know you guys are upset with this kind of thing na ginagawa ng TNA Impact. Pero, ako kasi, I love the vibe na pinagtitripan dito si Jeff Jarrett. And yung pinagtitripan tayo ng bookings ni Jeff Jarrett. Okay, so this is a signature match for Jeff Jarrett. Especially the first one. Then, the recent King of the Mountain, the men's, was won by Jeff Jarrett. That's the King of the Mountain title, and he won the title. Okay, yan. So, ayan nga. So, the last King of the Mountain match took place in 2015. Ang haba na pala nun. So, babalik siya this Sunday at Slammiversary with the Queen of the Mountain. So, this is gonna be the first one featuring woman. And Mickey James is gonna be part of the event of this match as the special ring enforcer. So, expect a screw job. Mag-expect ako dito na screw job, but I'm going to discuss that on Friday. Ayun. So, eto, ang gusto ko naman with King of the Mountain is parang sinasabi talaga natin na Nandito na ako on the top of the mountain. I'm the champion, yung motherfuckers. Pero at the same time, pag si Jeff Jarrett kasi yung nananalo, parang feeling mo, sobrang, this is another episode of Impact na. We're good, we're just putting this motherfucker over. And it's so plain stupid na we're here talking about this crap. And absolutely my favorite King of the Mountain match was Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe. Ayun nga, so they kick. So Joe give the title to Kurt Angle. Then parang binigay na sa kanya on the opposite ladder. Then Kurt Angle hooks the title to the top and wins the bout. And ayun na nga, sumali na si Samoa Joe sa main event Mafia. And ayun na nga, doon na nag-umpisa yung turn ni Joe doon sa TNA frontline na I don't know, to be honest, I hate this idea of TNA tawag dito. TNA frontline shit na to. I hate this idea. Pero ayun, it's plain stupid. Number 2 on our list is the Ultimate X. Ultimate X is absolutely one of my favorite steps ever in wrestling. So, I know Ultimate X hits different pag TNA days. Pero ito, okay naman sa akin, yung mga recent Ultimate X matches. Parang ang dating kasi sa akin ng Ultimate X is a ladder match without ladders. And it's so fucking good. Especially pag ang featuring dito is yung mga solid talaga na talents na kilala niyo naman yan, sila Ace Austin ngayon, sila Josh Alexander. Then, the past, kahit nga sila Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, andyan, sila Christopher Daniels, and it's so fucking good to watch in Ultimate X. If you want to watch Ultimate X, there's a lot on the Impact's YouTube channel. Dami niyan. Ayun, the last Ultimate X before this Sunday was, I think it's 2021. Noong si Josh Alexander ang X Division Champion. If I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, so finally, my top 1 on the list is, okay, malaba pa pala tong episode na to. So, okay, my top 1 on the list is the Lockdown/Lethal Lockdown. So basically, this is Impact's version of War Games. Kung saan yung Lethal Lockdown na minsan ginagawa nilang headliner for the event Lockdown na eventually naging match tip na lang. Ayun, so Lethal Lockdown is a War Games format match na the only way to win is pinfall or submission or escape. Yung difference nun kumpara sa Lockdown is yung roof is may tools, may weapons na pwede mo magamit to your opponents. Tapos, pagbaba nung cage, saka lang mag-upisa yung match itself, yung 1, 2, 3. So basically, this is a War Games thing, pero one ring lang siya. And parang Royal Rumble in one ring. Tapos, it's pretty impressive to watch Lockdown talaga. Sayang lang di natuloy yung Lockdown 2020. And I'm still hoping na mapanood ko ulit to in 2022. And sobrang mapaproud ako if ibabalik yun ng Impact this year. Especially with having Honor No More on the scene. Especially with their partnership on AEW. It's not impossible na mabalik nila ang Ultimate X. Just restore this shit. I'm going to go nuts. I swear to God. I'm going to, magwawala ako dito for it. Then, yung Lockdown naman is a pay-per-view, annual pay-per-view. Tinuring ata nila tong Big Four. So, Slammiversary, I think it's Slammiversary, Genesis, Bound for Glory, Lockdown. As their Big Four events. Na kung saan yun yung parang malaking show sila. I think it's Genesis ba? Tama ba? Genesis or Lockdown? Basta yun, parang Big Four ng Impact dati noong nagma-monthly pa sila. Then, ayun, Lockdown naman, yung match na Lockdown is basically every match on the card is a Lockdown match. Basically, steel cage match, the only way to win, pinfall submission. You can use the cage as weapon as well. Yun. Yung mga favorite match ko on Lockdown, may isa ko mention mamaya sa list na to. Sa podcast natin mamaya. Okay, ayun. So basically, that's my top 5 greatest match stipulations in Impact Wrestling. So we're going to talk about my top 3 rivalries real quick. Dito sa pod, baka mapapawala itong discussion. Wow, top 3 rivalries in Impact Wrestling history. So I'm going to give honorable mentions muna. Number 1 is LAX versus yung OG's LAX. I swear, LAX versus this thing, so fucking good. The OGs, sila Santana Ortiz pala. Yung OGs, sila Hernandez, sila Homicide, sila, I think, ayun. Hindi ko natanda yung isa. I think it was, it's almost may, sila Conan. Yan, nalala ko na. Okay, so LAX OGs versus the LAX the present. Yan sila Santana Ortiz. Yung kilala nyo ngayon, that's one of my honorable mentions on this list. So, it's so fucking good to watch their feud, especially their match, I think, from Slammiversary. So, it's so nice to watch matches like that. Sobrang hardcore. Not to mention on my greatest matches. But later, we're going to talk about that in our second half of this show. Okay? So, simple lang to. Top 3 top rivalries in Impact. Honorable mention pang isa is Awesome Kong versus Gail Kim. The first ever women's rivalry for the title in Impact history. I think this rivalry, it's different kumpara sa ibang rivalry sa WWE. And I think this feud between Awesome Kong and Gail Kim is definitely one of the greatest feuds in Impact Wrestling. No doubt. I have no doubts on this thing, but definitely this is one of my favorite female feuds in Impact. Okay, so we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the top 3 rivalries. We're going to continue with our top 5 greatest segments in Impact history. Then our top 5 matches in Impact history, and my top 5 homegrown wrestlers in Impact history. But for now, let's check our bunkmates here on Bunk Collective.
Hey guys, I'm Brian.
And I'm Luigi.
And this is Bulalo Sessions.
Kwentuhang puro kasabawan.
Pero may laman.
Dito, pagchichikahan natin ang kung ano-anong ganap natin sa buhay.
Pwedeng love life, kawalan ng love life,
Madalas sex, or reklamo sa trabaho.
at marami pang iba.
So, kung gusto nyo makarelate sa kasabawan,
Or bored lang talaga kayo sa buhay.
pakinggan nyo kami sa Bulalo Sessions.
Wednesdays at 8 p.m.
Kita-kits!
I loved you then, I love you now, and I will continue loving you until I can no longer.
You took a part of me until I had nothing left.
The old me had to die so the new me could be reborn.
I didn't deserve that pain. I deserve love, just not from her.
Today, I choose myself.
I wanted to tell you, but you weren't there.
These are the stories that I wish you heard. Streaming weekly episodes on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Google Podcasts.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Still talking about Impact Wrestling, the 20th anniversary episode of Impact here on the podcast. So let's continue with our top 3 rivalries in Impact history. Okay? So top 3. Actually, ibibigay ko to sa current rivalry na gusto ko. It's Deonna Purrazzo versus Taya Valkyrie. My opinion, this feud, it's pretty basic concept. But I think this rivalry hits different noong pag napapakita kasi nila na magaling sila parehas, it means maganda yung execution ng story. And if nagkakasundo kayo on the match itself, it hits different on your eyes. And especially sa, halimbawa, yung pag-execute nyo ng story, it hits different pag magkasundo kayo. And I think Taya and Diona feuding each other, never forgetting their shit. I think it's really hits different pag kasundo mo yung ka-feud mo. No? Sobrang impressive ng feud na to, especially their feud few years ago and their history na ulit-ulit ngayon taon sa Rebellion. When, I think, di Rebellion ba? O, Rebellion nga, nasa ko Rebellion. Di ko na rin tanda yung mga matches. Sorry na. I think it's Rebellion when Taya defeated Diona for the Aspo. Yeah, it's different. Then number 2 on our list here, top 3 rivalries in Impact was Main Event Mafia versus TNA Frontline. I know Main Event Mafia started in a plain stupid way na okay, respetuhin nyo kami yung mga luma dito. Kami yung veterans dito. You need to respect us. And ayan nga, so nag-umpisa nga yung Main Event Mafia. Kevin Nash, Sting, Kurt Angle, Booker T, Scott Steiner, and Sharmell. And na-expand na yung stable, so forth and so forth. Nag-join dito sila Samoa Joe and the rest. Marami akong pwedeng i-mention but di ko natanda yung iba. Okay, so Main Event Mafia versus TNA Frontline. It's more on a John Cena versus Nexus. Pero hindi. Sobrang different na to. And I swear to God, if you're going to watch Impact back, this is the first thing you should check out. Kasi sobrang solid ng history na to between Main Event Mafia and TNA Frontline. Especially with the stuff na ginawa ng Main Event Mafia sa TNA Frontline. Especially with Kevin Nash doing his shit on exhibition guys like AJ Styles and sila Petty Williams, sila Samoa Joe. Yan. It's so fucking hilarious, especially with this one-liner shit on every exhibition guys na napapakita rin nila on TV. It proves na tawag dito. It proves na kaya pa nilang mapa-enhance yung mga gimmicks and parang napuput over na rin at the same time yung exhibition guys. So that's why I choose this on my top 2 of my top rivalries in Impact history. Okay, number 1, my top 1 rivalry in Impact history. I know it's pretty obvious to you guys. Even na hindi kayo nanonood ng Impact Wrestling, you should know about this feud. It's Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. Man. If you know Impact and you don't love this feud, I'm going to kick you out. I swear to God, this feud is the greatest feud of all time in Impact. So, WWE released Kurt Angle, then reveal siya as a special enforcer for a Samoa Joe matchup. Then, their confrontation and the rest is motherfucking history. Their match at some point is sobrang ganda. And I think the end point of their feud was a clean win by Samoa Joe beating Kurt Angle. Then, ayun, nagsama na nga rin sila eventually sa Main Event Mafia when Joe joined the stable. Then, ayun na, tuloy-tuloy na yung solid partnership nila, solid feuds pa din. And kung prime to prime at naglaban ulit sila, it's gonna be good, banger eventually if WWE. Sayang lang, hindi natin makikita kasi si Joe sa AEW na. Okay, ayun. So that's my top 3 rivalries in Impact history. Let me know your top 3 on the podcast platforms at the THEMTGSHOWPOD. So, let's talk about top segments in Impact history. I know, 4 lang to ibibigay ko, no? Kasi sinasakto kong 20. Ewan ko nga kung sasaktong 20 to, hindi ako sure. Okay, let's start. Ito random order to. Pero I think this is definitely my top favorites. Number 1 on my greatest segments in Impact was a Samoa Joe pipe bomb promo on Scott Hall when he decided not to show up on the pay-per-view Turning Point. So, originally, magkakampi dito si Samoa Joe at saka si Scott Hall. And hindi nag-show up si Scott Hall sa event. Then, ayun na nga. Binigyan siya ng TV time ng Impact pay-per-view time actually. Si pay-per-view to. Turning Point 2007. And they decided to give him a preview or promo time para mag-rant. And ayun na, in-introduce na nga yung replacement sa kanya, which is Eric Young. And ayun, the rest is history. I think if you're going to rank pipe bombs, huwag yung kakalimutan to kasi sobrang personal ito para sa kanilang dalawa ni Scott Hall. Okay, number 2 was the woo-off between Ric Flair and Jay Lethal. Man, if you're going to talk about the gold era of Impact Wrestling, don't forget about this shit. Because this shit slaps, man. The woo-off between Ric Flair and Jay Lethal is definitely a banger. You don't need to explain things up to the beginners and let them watch this shit. And ma-entertain kayo doon, panigurado. Hindi kayo mauumayan that with the woo-off. That's hilarious at the same time. That's one of the best things ever Impact pulled out on this 2-hour show of TNA before. And so, it's so fucking hilarious, man. The rest is history talaga. Then, number 3 was the final deletion match between Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy and the OG, ang tawag dito, yung OG start of cinematic matches in pro wrestling. So, ito nga. So, we got the final deletion match between them. And actually, Matt won the match by beating his brother Jeff. Then, ayun na, eventually, naging tag team din sila. And ayun, they won the tag titles. They left Impact Wrestling after that 1 year pa. Then, I'm glad maganda yung write-off sa kanila dito. I love the write-off here. Then, ayun. The rest is history. They appeared at Ring of Honor. They appeared at WrestleMania. And eventually, nag-full-time din sila doon. Until Matt Hardy left the promotion. Until Jeff Hardy left the promotion. Ayun. It's so fucking good to watch the last Prime match of the Hardys. Then, finally, on my top 4, actually top 1 to eh. Ito sobrang favorite ko to eh. Yung mga Scott Steiner promos. Halos lahat ng Scott Steiner promos in TNA is absolutely my favorite. I don't need to recognize almost everything Scott Steiner said in TNA. At baka humaba yung time ko dito mag-rant about this shit. Okay, so basically this TNA run by Scott Steiner is so much better rather than his WWE run, my opinion. Ayun, notable stuff from Scott Steiner was his Matt promo on Samoa Joe and Kurt Angle. Then yung pag-takeover ng Main Event Mafia sa Impact noon January 2009. I watched this whole fucking shit. And until now, sobrang natatawa pa rin ako habang pinapanood ko ulit to. It's sobrang fucking hilarious. Especially with this line from Dunkin' Donuts representing obesity. It so slaps, man. I remember that shoot to Dudley Boys and Team 3D on that time. And so fucking good to watch those punks. And Kurt Angle, Booker T even commentated his own match on that episode of Impact. Then, ayun, so notable Scott Steiner promos pa is, ayun, yun, noong nag-feud ang TNA Frontline at saka yung tawag dito, yung TNA Frontline, may event mafia. Kahit wala akong maintindihan sa promos. Sobrang natatawa talaga ako actually on his promos lately. Buti nga hindi na mamana ni Braun Breaker yun eh. Putang ina eh. Kahit hindi naman ano eh. Pero may connection kasi. Buti talaga din na mamana ni Gago eh. Yun, which is great. Okay. So, yan lang. Top 4 greatest segments in Impact history. If you want to chop down your greatest shit in Impact, let me know in the podcast platforms at TheMTG Show Pod. Okay? Or sa Discord ng Bunk, bit.ly/Bunk Discord. Yun, nakalimutan ko. Okay, so we're going to go to our top 4 greatest matches in Impact history. I'm going to say 5, pero 4 lang yung sinulat ko kasi sumasakot yung penteng. Okay, let's start with the newest one here in my list. So, LAX versus Lucha Bros from Rebellion 2018 in a street fight. I think this is a street fight. Street fight. Ayun, so this match, in my opinion, is the greatest Anthem era match in Impact history. Wala pa akong pakialam sa pagiging overrated ng Lucha Bros on this time. But this thing slaps. When it comes to Impact Wrestling, if you talk about Impact Wrestling, this thing slaps. And definitely a must watch. If nirelease to ng Impact, you should watch this shit. 2018-19 pala, sorry. It's Rebellion 2019. Rebellion 2019. Okay, I'm sorry. Tao na lang. Okay. So, LAX won the titles from Lucha Bros on this matchup. And the ending of this shit is Pac. Inano ka ng tinidor sa ulo. Then, double team on the tables from the top of the ladder. Then, bang! That's an absolute disaster. And absolutely love it. Okay. So, let's talk about the top 3 matches in Impact pa. So, this is Kurt Angle versus Samoa Joe. 2008. At least it's Lockdown 2008. In a MMA/pro wrestling matchup. I think this is one of the most impressive feuds in the history of the company talaga. And I think this is the end of Kurt Angle's run as the world champion. And as much as memorable doon sa una nilang matchup noong October after ng Bound for Glory 2007, 2006, whatever. Sobrang memorable din nitong Kurt Angle run na to and dispute with Samoa Joe. Sobrang memorable, man, na finally he broke the streak of Kurt Angle. Then, ayun na, nagtuloy-tuloy na yung pagkawala ni then eventually yung seed, ito na, in my opinion, ito na yung nag-umpisa ng seeds sa pag-join ni Joe sa Main Event Mafia. Ayun, yun ang starts ng seeds of him joining the Main Event Mafia. No? Then, ito, number 2 on the list. I think this is from an older Impact event. In 2004, this is American Most Wanted versus Triple X. Especially Alex Keeper. Man, Alex Keeper is definitely absolutely one of the best guys in the company in that time. Absolutely one of my favorite guys ever in Impact. Sobrang ganda nung spot. The match is sobrang top-notch. Man, absolutely impressive matchup. I don't need to explain longer kasi mahaba na yung time ng show. Pero it's pretty impressive to watch Impact on that time, especially with their weekly pay-per-views. Yun, weekly pay-per-views. And it's pretty impressive to watch Impact on that time. Especially if you guys thinking about alternatives in WWE. No? Then, number 1, actually, I'm going to choose 2 of their series of matches. So, it's Samoa Joe versus AJ Styles versus Christopher Daniels. In my opinion, this is the greatest shit of all time, man. Joe Styles Daniels, man, slaps everything from their unbreakable matchup and Turning Point 2009. Everything from that match slaps. From those matches slaps. If meron kayong Impact Ultimate from Impact Wrestling, you should buy that thing. And ayun, rewatch itong moment na to. It's a pretty big part of the Impact. And sinemento rin nito yung pagiging big guy ni AJ. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive part of the Impact's history. Ayun, so Unbreakable 2005 and the Turning Point 2009. It's impressive. Both of them are impressive naman. Okay. So, ayun lang. So, basically, we're going to take another commercial break and finally, we're going to talk about my top 5 TNA homegrown wrestlers. Ayun. But first, let's check our bunkmates here on Bunk Collective.
Hey everyone, this is Mo Twister, and you're listening to the Kingdom Podcast with the voice DJ Yuki.
That was the OG, Mo Twister, promoting this podcast. If you like Korean pop culture, or know someone who does, then get into it, and visit our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram pages at the Kingdom Pod PH.
We're proud to tell you that this is one of the premier shows to go to for your weekly dose of K-pop. So drop everything, and listen to the Kingdom Podcast. Available in all your podcast streaming platforms.
Join us!
Picture this. 2 guys talking about true crime,
weird mysteries,
horror stories.
But the conversation is light.
Mostly funny.
And sometimes naughty.
This is Scriptsalog,
a Spotify exclusive.
I'm Gideon.
And I'm Glenn. And we're serving huge portions of horror and true crime twice a week.
We'll make sure your cravings are satisfied.
And you'll be begging for more.
Char.
Check us out.
This is Scriptsalog, available exclusively on Spotify.
Okay. So welcome back to the show. Again, another plug here. So if you want to support the podcast on Shopee, you can use my link, podlink.co/bhx, or you can use my link Linktree, doon sa description, linktr.ee/TheMTGShowPod. Okay? Yan. Let's continue. So, top 5 TNA homegrown wrestlers that I ever watched. Sobrang swerte ko na napanood ko pa yung iba dito. Sobrang swerte ko na I'm impressed with those guys. No? Okay, let's start with our honorable mentions of this list. I'm going to give 5 honorable mentions. So, Chris Sabin of Motor City Machine Guns. Man, that run. His solo run is impressive, man. Let's face it. Sobrang nagustuhan ko yung run niya as soloist. Mas okay yan. Okay. So, another honorable mention was Magnus, aka Nick Aldis in NWA right now. So, Magnus is a different guy, in my opinion. Sobrang impressive din. And it hits different nung naglipat siya sa NWA. He elevated his status after that run as Magnus. Still impressive. Number 3, Eric Young. Eric Young, for me, I can call him mas nag-grow siya dito sa Impact rather in his former promotions, WWE. Mas na-establish siya dito ng matindi. So, that's why I chose Eric Young. Eric Young is a pretty good wrestler, but it doesn't mean I need his presence on this Sunday's pay-per-view. We're going to talk about more on our prediction this Sunday on the podcast. On this Friday, rather. Okay. Number 4 is Bobby Roode. Bobby Roode, I think, he is he's a great wrestler. unappreciated, but his status for me, okay lang. Pretty appreciated naman ng tao. Pero I think there's guys talaga na mas umaangat sa akin pag pinag-uusapan natin ito. Na? Okay, then also two guys pa. Eli Drake. Eli Drake, I think hindi siya nag-start with Impact. But I included Eli Drake kasi sobrang impressive ng kanyang run with Impact Wrestling despite it's too short. Mas maikli yun. Pero I think I can say this is much better than his WWE run right now. EC3. Oh boy. EC3 is so much better than his WWE run and his current run in Control Your Narrative. Okay. Finally, I'm going to mention one more wrestler before we start our top 5. Nasa dulo na ng utak ko. Actually, it's oh, shit. Nasa dulo na ng ko. Basta I was thinking one person pa na nag-grow with Impact. And it's Pete Williams. Man. Pete Williams started in other promotion but nag-establish siya dito. Pete Williams is pretty impressive. His Impact run. Kaso nga lang, binary siya. Ginago siya doon sa... Ayun, add ko na rin siguro. I'm going to insert Jay Lethal. Jay Lethal, sobrang ganda nung naging run niya with Impact Wrestling. It's impressive. I love this run by Jay Lethal as well. Notable yung mga runs niya as Impact X Division Champion and his feud with Ric Flair. Okay. Yun. So, let's start with our top 5. So, top 5 on our list is James Storm. Nakilala siya sa Beer Money with Bobby Roode. And he still wrestle in NWA. I think James Storm's presence on this list, I think it hits different kasi mas mukha siyang homegrown sa paningin ko rather some things outside of some guys that I mentioned earlier. And maganda naman yung record niya for me. Kaya I choose him on our top 5 here on this list. On this spot. Number 4 is a woman. Yes. So I choose Madison Rayne on our top 4 here. Kasi aside from Awesome Kong and Gail Kim na parehas former WWE woman, I choose Awesome Kong. I choose Madison Rayne kasi doon talaga siya na-establish. And I think mas maganda yung naging run niya as Impact Women's Champion. Ayun, especially with her rivalries with Gail Kim, Mickie James, and Velvet Sky. Nga pala, nakalimutan ko si Velvet Sky. But still, ayun, one of the most impressive women in the Knockouts division. That's Madison Rayne. Okay. So, top 3. Ito, medyo crucial to. Ewan ko paano ko siya ipoposition sa list na to. So, yun. My top 3 is, eto, sobrang simple. Pwede ko siyang i-shuffle whenever I want. Kung kailangan ko gustuhin, pwede ko siyang i-shuffle. So, it's Abyss, Samoa Joe, and AJ Styles. Sobrang hirap and crucial yung pagsama ko sa tatlong to sa top 3. But let's start with the Abyss. Abyss is their favorite demon here in Impact TNA. Sobrang ganda lang nung run ni Abyss. It hits different kumpara kay Taker. Iba rin siya kumpara kay Kane and sa iba pang monsters like Mick Foley. It hits different yung run na to ni Abyss. And yung, ewan ko nga, in my opinion, I love Abyss rather than Mick Foley. Kumpara sa ibang tao siguro, sabihin nyo na bad take yun. But I can take Abyss over Mick Foley all day long. Mas preferred ko rin pati yung style niya in wrestling. No offense sa mga Mick Foley fans niya. No? But yeah, ayun. And plus, I can appreciate Abyss more because of his loyalty to Impact until he left and joined WWE. Talaga. Yun, number 2, Samoa Joe. For me, Samoa Joe being on this list is justified naman. His run, absolute impressive. Yun, 18-month winning streak. Then, he fought Kurt Angle. On his first match, that was he defeated. Then, yung first and only TNA title run ni Samoa Joe. Sobrang memorable nun. Then, him joining the X Division is top notch. Sobrang kakaiba ni Samoa Joe talaga on this pretty big run with Impact Wrestling. And yeah. Number 1, AJ Styles. Hindi ko na kailangan i-justify or salsalin why AJ Styles. AJ Styles is definitely the top guy. They're brewing him to be the top guy of the promotion. Alam kong hindi madali yung pag-push sa kanya kasi medyo natatabunan sila yung mga X Division guys on the main event scene kasi yun puro WWE X guys. Ex WWE guys, and AJ Styles being on this moment, on this prime era, carrying Impact Wrestling, Impact TNA. It's so fucking impressive run by this man, AJ Styles. And I think him being the top charge of Impact on that time until he left for New Japan and eventually WWE, hindi siya madaling makalimutan para sa akin. Hindi siya madaling makalimutan, and him being the top guy for almost years will never forget by anyone. And sobrang saya. Hindi ko rin na-regret na manood, not just because of this guy. Hindi ko na siya naabutan na si champion, yes. Pero I can say AJ Styles is definitely the guy elsewhere, anywhere. New Japan, WWE, Impact, TNA. So fucking good to watch TNA on that time. Okay. So, habang pulalayo tayo sa topic na to, so, yes, on Friday, we're going to discuss the Slammiversary 2022, our predictions, plus some developments on Jeff Hardy, on his arrest na naman. Boy. Then, we're going to discuss the upcoming Forbidden Door matches. We're going to discuss Dominion as well on Friday's episode of the podcast in our first era, in our new era of the podcast. So, I'm going to spoil something here on this episode. Pwede ko naman sabihin na kasi 2 days na lang naman bago mangyari yung rebranding. So, yes, it's a rebranding, but I'm not going to, So, ang goal lang ng rebranding na to, ng show, was to, para lang maging versatile siya sa show, no? Yung logo, I changed the logo, I changed everything on the pod logo, and I think it's top-notch. Sobrang top-notch. And this branding of this very show, I think ito dapat yung nangyari last year, hindi itong gamit natin ngayon. But regardless, we're here na. And this Friday on the podcast, we're going to start a new era. And that new era is our Honor era. I call it Honor era. We're going to discuss more on Friday on our special episode of the podcast. We're going to talk about Slammiversary and many more on this week's Thursday, Friday podcast. Okay. So again, for our closing statement here on our Impact special episode, eto, konting bagay lang. Impact, I know you are being wise on putting shows on a smaller arenas. But sana naman makabook na ulit kayo ng bigger arenas, kahit yung mga 5 tao, 10 tao. O kaya yung kahit yung mga smaller arenas, kahit paano yung mga kagaya ulit nung Impact Zone dati. kaya nyo naman i-book yung Impact Zone sa totoo lang. And kung gusto nyo talaga maging nostalgic on this 20-year anniversary of Impact, you should use the Impact Zone, man. Impact Zone is so nostalgic. And sana nga lang na sana nga lang hindi ginagamit ng AEW on that time. Kasi may AEW rin sa Universal Studios as far as I know. And number 2, please humanap sana kayo ng mas magandang provider of your content aside from YouTube. Kasi yung Impact Plus is so hassle to watch. Yung content nila, minsan di napapanood yung iba. Sobrang hassle din ng UI ng Impact Plus. Sana makahanap kayo ng bagong content provider for your archives and library. Kahit sa YouTube sana. Then finally, here in the Philippines, I hope Impact pwedeng makabalik ditong Impact Wrestling sa TV natin in any ways. Kasi sobrang bigla nung pagkawala ng Impact Wrestling shows sa top sports. Sobrang bigla nun. I hope na makabalik sila in any way kahit anong network. Kaya sana lang talaga makabalik sila dito sa PHTV, and I would appreciate na mapanood ko rin sila on Philippine TV. Okay, so again, happy anniversary Impact Wrestling. This episode is a tribute for their 20th anniversary on this week's episode of the podcast as part of our Impact Week. Now, I forgot to mention this is part of our Impact Week here on the podcast. So that's it for our this week's episode of the podcast. Follow the podcast on all of the social media platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, TikTok, and on YouTube at the THE Show Pod. Please don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell for our YouTube channel. Mag-upload na siguro tayo soon ng isa pang YouTube content doon na sana hindi kasi ako pwede mag-upload ng audio kasi tawag dito. Mayroon naman tayong Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, at saka yung Spotify. Kaya ayoko mag-upload and i-consider yung Spotify as my main platform for podcast. Then ayun, don't forget to follow the rest of the Bonk Collective on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, and on TikTok. Then at the Bonk PH, and visit our website at thebonkph.com. And please support Philippine Wrestling, of course, ManilaWrestling.com. Ando na lahat yung mga link TR for their events and for the link on Kank. Don't forget to support Manila Wrestling Federation. Then, follow me on social media at AG Penera on Twitter and Instagram. Then, please join our community on Discord. Our bigger and better wrestling community on Discord. That's bit.ly/bonk Discord on Discord. Ayan, lagay nyo sa browser. Diretso yan sa Bonk Discord. Then, please join our Discord. Bigger and better wrestling community and wrestling Discord on Bonk Collective's Discord. Then, yun. So, that's it for our episode number 109. Stay safe, stay wrestle. See you on Friday for our regular episode of the podcast. Let's go. This is the THE Show Podcast in cooperation with Bonk Collective.
If you like this episode, please rate the podcast 5 stars 6 and take it home. This podcast is a member of Bonk Collective.